Hello, my name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. I am going to go over some details about my personal experience as a lesbian woman going through the stages of understanding myself better and becoming familiar with who I am as a woman in a world that doesn't really cater to or pay attention to the way someone who is same sex attracted feels or thinks. And in my experience, because I was often overlooked or neglected about how to have relationships with people that you are romantically and physically and sexually attracted to, I was I was in a position where I had to decide for myself how I wanted to learn and navigate the process of being a same-sex attracted person in a heteronormative society. And many people will look at someone who is lesbian or gay or same-sex attracted and already categorize them as being someone who is sexually promiscuous, or they may consider them to be very rebellious. However, although you may know someone who has a history of being a very promiscuous person, or they seem to be careless about their sex life, that doesn't apply to all lesbian, gay, or LGBTQ people. And when you are in a society that doesn't acknowledge you or accept you because of your sexual orientation, not being heterosexual, then you are instantly judged. You are not a part of the whole crew, or you don't fit in like everyone else. And society caters to heterosexual people. That is the society that we live in. And they value relationships, dating, and marriage. And we are actually in a society that is hypersexualized. So what you look at is always going to indicate a relationship between opposite genders and them engaging in relationships together. And we are going to be, whether we are looking for it or not, we are going to experience situations where we are physically and sexually interested in another person. And the main difference between heterosexual people and homosexual people is that we are attracted to a person, but the sex of the person is different. Meaning the heterosexual person, if you're a man, you're attracted to a woman. And if you're a woman, you're attracted to a man. But as a homosexual or same sex attracted person, if you are a man, you are attracted to a man. If you are a woman, you are attracted to a woman. These are obvious answers, but we need to understand better why people are interested in watching and learning about sexuality through the medium of film and movies, and more specifically, adult films. I am going to address today my experience and what I have observed in life coming from a lesbian woman's perspective regarding why I was interested in watching adult films, more specifically, lesbian adult films. and how it affected me. And the title of this video is The Dark Side of Watching Lesbian XXX Adult Films. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share my videos. I discuss various topics regarding same-sex attraction, spirituality, faith, and sexuality in relationships. And if you would love more information, you can always contact me. All of my information is here on YouTube in the description box. And don't forget to subscribe for content such as this. My experience growing up was quite lonely regarding when it came to being accepted. Early on in life, I was not able to truly be myself because my family was against homosexuality. And we went to church pretty heavily, and homosexuality was not accepted, it was not condoned. Yet, I knew that I was attracted to women. And my experience is a little bit different in the sense that I knew very young that I was a lesbian before the age of 10 years old, and my family was aware as well. So, being a child, being a teenager, it was a lot of trying times. And thank God I am a very spiritual person. I believe that God was with me during those difficult times because you really feel alone and isolated. And I didn't have an outlet. And that's why I had learned on my own about sexuality. I've always been intrigued by women. I've been intrigued by the realness of how we express ourselves sexually. And I don't look at sexuality and sexual interests in a shameful way. And growing up in the church, you didn't hear about topics of relationships and sex. All you heard was don't have sex before you're married. You need to get married. But there was no in between. So you didn't get information or guidance. And what really impacted my life was I have very outspoken parents and grandparents. However, they were very upfront, they didn't bite their tongue. But, and they weren't really shy about the topic of sex. However, because I was a lesbian, they were not willing to discuss to me how to carry on in life as a same-sex attracted person. And that was because they did not condone homosexuality. And that can be very dismissive to, from a child's perspective, in my experience, and being a young adolescent teenager, and you're being overlooked or neglected about really serious matters. If you, for example, go through heartbreak, maybe your heart was broken, you have to experience that in silence. You're alone because you know that you can't go to mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or even your siblings sometimes, because you can't tell them, hey, I really like this girl and such happened and it didn't work out. You can't even be free to discuss those things, and they don't have anything to do with you being sexually involved because I was a child or a teenager, and you don't necessarily have to be having sex because you're lesbian, gay, or LGBTQ. And that's also a huge misconception with people. They will judge people who are homosexual or same sex attracted as being very sexually promiscuous, or people fear if they engage in conversations with their children or their teenagers about the birds and the bees, that that will make them want to go out and actually be wild and sexually promiscuous. But honestly, in most cases the opposite will happen. If you are speaking and engaging with your children and they trust you, they'll listen to you. But if you push them away, or if you look down on who they are because of their sexual orientation, then you create this divide in the household, and the relationship between parent and child is actually deeply hindered, and it's not good. And I encourage parents, if you have children who are gay, lesbian, or LGBTQ, instead of looking at them from your viewpoint, try to consider how they feel, because at the end of the day, they are a child. They are your child. And it doesn't mean that because they're gay or lesbian or LGBTQ that they are going to be sexually promiscuous, or that they're even involved sexually with someone of the same sex. If you do know that your child is active sexually and you still refuse to communicate with them because you don't accept them as being gay, lesbian, or same sex attracted, then you're allowing your child to be in a position where they can be hurt. They can be hurt, not just meaning heartbreak, but they can unfortunately get an STD, a sexually transmitted disease. So it's so important to talk to your children. Now, regarding the topic of watching adult films, one of the ways that I was able to learn more about women who love women is through the medium of film and movies, because I was able to see a side that I was never able to see. And although it was through adult films, it was more so a place within my heart that was empty, because I had no deep connections with other women who were like me. It was not so much about me wanting to go out and have sex or be promiscuous. It was more so about me trying to find and explore my sexuality, because I didn't have the information, and I was curious and I desired to learn more about myself and more about people like me. Because growing up at my time, there was no one around who was openly discussing that they were gay or lesbian, or even just a same sex attracted person, because it was deeply hidden. It was considered taboo. So when I when I started to look at adult films, it was because I genuinely was missing a part of myself, and I was trying to make a connection with other women, and I was able to do that through watching lesbian adult films. Now, regarding the negative experiences of that for me personally, and this is my experience, so I'm not speaking about other women who identify as lesbian or same sex attracted. We all have our own different experiences. But for me, I would say the dark side of me looking at adult films, I think, was it caused more feelings of loneliness, because I still was not able to interact or engage with other women who identified as lesbian. So it created more of a feeling of detachment. And I was not having any feelings of shame um, from it, because I wasn't ashamed of who I was. And what I what I did find interesting was that it was like confirming to me that there were other women who looked like me, meaning they were black women or they were women and or women of color, and they had same sex attraction. So that side of it was intriguing. However, the other part that was a dark side of it is I wasn't able to speak to someone in my family or a close friend about feelings of sexual arousal and feelings of being attracted to the same sex and wanting to have a relationship, because there are some things that you do not discuss with your parents, of course, but just generally, I couldn't discuss anything. I couldn't even discuss if I thought a woman was attractive. So it was not going to happen. And when you are a teenager, for example, if you have a friend and you talk about certain things with each other, or if you have a close sibling or cousin, then you may talk about certain things that are more personal. And usually you'll go to someone who's a little bit older than you, because they have a bit more experience and you would look up to them or admire them. So because no one was a lesbian, I couldn't do that. And I didn't even have friends to do that with. And it was very lonely, but fortunately, I was a very optimistic person, and I took on the mindset that if I don't do it myself, then it's never going to happen. And I do wish that I had other outlets to be able to discover myself, and outside of looking at adult films, because the dark side of it is if you are not careful, then you can have what I would say an unrealistic view of how relationships or sexual relations are. And to be a little bit more specific of what I mean is everything that you watch is not real. And everything that you watch is not something that you need to participate in. So if you are not wise enough or mature enough to have that knowledge, then you can probably try things that you shouldn't be trying, or you may be down on yourself about not looking a certain way, because you will see very attractive people in these adult films. I mean, that's what they're going to be, because they know that's part of the game, to look very appealing so that you can watch them. And it could affect your self-esteem if you feel like you are not as attractive as this person that you're looking at in this adult film. And then it could make you feel like, oh my goodness, I will never meet someone like that. I wish I could meet somebody like her. I'll never meet someone like her. Or you may think nobody that looks that good would want to be with me. So you can be very impressionable when you are a young teenager. Now, I was actually 18 or 19 years old when I started looking at lesbian adult films. So I was mature enough to handle it. But even as an adult, same thing. You do not need to be too engaged in watching adult films, because some people can become very obsessive, and only you know yourself. So you know what you can handle and what you can't handle. And if you are not in a positive mindset, if you don't have a good support system, people get involved with different things that don't actually benefit them. People may become sexually promiscuous just because of what they watch. Some people may resort to drinking and drug use. Some people become very isolated and pessimistic. So watching adult films can affect you negatively. There is a dark side to it. And it's best for you to look within and ask yourself questions like, why am I watching adult films? What purpose is it serving me? You have to ask yourself these questions to help you stay grounded and self-aware, because you don't actually need to look at adult films to learn yourself or to become aware of things in this world that you are not aware of, because you yourself can learn who you are many other ways. For example, you can read. We are in an information age now, so we have technology, because when I was coming up, we didn't have cell phones. You know, cell phones is actually a fairly new phenomenon. It just happened in the early 2000s, like between 2000 and 2003, I believe, is when cell phones became huge. So at the recording of this video, it's 2023, and you know, we have so much access to technology, but you have to be careful. You have to practice self-control. You have to be mindful of your limits, because if you are not, then instead of you being in control, whatever it is will take control over you. I hope that what I explained to you helps you to better understand the experience of a person who is a same sex attracted person like myself, being a lesbian woman and being in a household environment where I was not accepted just because of me being attracted to the same sex. But it's a reality. And instead of being quick to judge a person for why they do the things that they do, you might want to take time to understand a person and get to know them better. And that's why I did want to address this. And if you are interested in receiving one-on-one life coaching, I am a lesbian life coach. I coach LGBTQ people regarding topics such as this. Sometimes you just need an outlet. Sometimes you need to discuss your own experiences that you have regarding same sex attraction and relationships, because you don't have anyone out there who will help you with the information. And to be honest, a lot of people don't know how to help you. So I would love to be able to discuss with you what your interests are and your concerns and how you would like to self-improve. Please contact me. All of my information is here in the description box on YouTube. And thank you for listening. You have a beautiful day.